Welcome to Real Estate Coaching Radio, starring award-winning real estate coaches and #1 international best-selling authors, Tim and Julie Harris. Real Estate Coaching Radio is the nation's #1 daily radio show for realtors who demand authentic, real-time coaching. Get ready for fluff-free, unfiltered, full-strength honesty about what's truly working to get you into action, helping others, and making money now in today's real estate market. Now to our hosts, Tim and Julie Harris.
3, 2, 1, and we are live. So listeners, welcome back, and thanks for all the great feedback on the Brad Inman interview that we had on yesterday. We are going to have lots more interviews. I've been sending out emails to some of the most influential, powerful people in the industry. You guys are going to notice I'm not bringing on corporate executive, figurehead, senior vice presidents, because frankly, I don't think the information they're going to pass along to you is going to be that useful for your business. So we're bringing on top producing agents. We're bringing on people who are actually in this market like all of us are. So lots of those coming your way. I'm really looking forward to reconnecting with all these folks. Also wanted to give you a quick update. We are getting record numbers of people that are joining the free coaching program that we came out with in response to this market crash. We have been anticipating, as you guys know, if you've been following Julie and I for a long time, you know we've been anticipating this. We started talking about a market crash and a market correction last year. Of course, we did not predict it would be as a result of a pandemic, but we did see it coming. So bottom line here is this new coaching program. It is, just to be clear, it is basically a maybe 15% of our normal coaching program. But what it is specifically designed for is all of you who are desperate, wanting to know what the heck you're supposed to do now. That's what the coaching program is for. And all you've got to do to join it, and it's very simple, is just text the word survival to 31996. Text the word survival to 31996. We'll text you back a link, and you just have to basically hop into the website and join. That's it. Now, here's what I want you to remember. It's really critical. The second you go there, and after you've joined, I want you to jump right to the section where we're talking about all the forbearances and whatnot. All the ways you can basically put money in your pocket, because our Urgent Agent Survival Guide basically is geared towards 3 parts. The first is personal, the second is protect, and the third is profit. The whole point of what we're doing here is we're trying to get you guys to think in terms of how you can protect your, basically the personal is put your own mask on first. The protect is what we're going to talk about a little bit today. And then the profit obviously is going to come after people sort of, find their bearings and the bulk of this virus is behind us. But for now, here's what matters most is you must you must text the word survival to 31996. Now, I do want to address some of the questions that we've been getting about the forbearances. And please listen to what I'm saying. Everything what I'm telling you is factual based on the latest news. The total package, or whatever the heck you want to call it, that the Senate and the Congress are supposedly approving, because no one's actually seen it yet, is worth $6 trillion. The headline number is $2 trillion because that's the amount of money that's going to be basically put back into circulation on behalf of directly to consumers. That's what most people are focused on, is the what's in it for me on the $2 trillion side. This other $4 trillion is going to basically to prop up the financial system. So this total package that got passed was $6 trillion. So on the $2 trillion side is going to be the people that are earning less than $75,000, or maybe it's $100,000. No one knows for sure. Are going to get $1,200, things like that. On the $4 trillion side, the money that's going to the banks, there is, again, we're hearing from very good sources, there is money that's in there to basically pay the banks. As this is just being as direct as I can, to allow essentially everyone who was affected by the virus to not have a payment for up to 12 months. Now, we have seen some lenders, Wells Fargo, for example, who've actually put that in place in anticipation of that getting passed. Other lenders are still trying to figure it out. There is no uniform law or no uniform guideline yet, but there will be next week. So if you're calling your lender now and they're telling you what I'm different than what Julie and I are telling you, just stay tuned. Keep the ball in play until next week, and you're going to see our prediction is, and based on what we're being told, is that there's going to be one uniform guideline in place for all lenders who are basically, who've been having their loans essentially backstopped by the government, which is, by the way, virtually all of them, except for the most high-end loans where the banks like JP Morgan and whatnot were holding those as investments for their actual bank. But that's a minority of the loans out there. Most loans are going to have a forbearance that's going to last at least 12 months. That's also true for every other kind of, revolving debt. That's true for credit cards, car payments, anything you can possibly imagine. So all of this is laid out, and we're adding every day the latest information. We're not going to be publicizing it on our website because the information gets updated too frequently, and I don't want to have to go in there and constantly edit it on 1,000 different posts, or rather have my staff do it. So what we're doing instead is only going to be behind that free website I told you about. This is where all the information is that you need to get access to now in order to know what you have to do now. The easiest way for you to get that information is text the word survival to 31996. Text the word survival right now to 31996. Julie?
Yes, and that also applies to what we were talking about. The forbearance programs also applies to credit unions, your vacation property, your rental property. Pretty much everything is covered here. So again, stay tuned for the latest updates on all that. So Tim, we got an interesting email, I think last night, from somebody whose initials are DPS. And this has been edited just for brevity. So I'm going to kind of jump into this, and then we'll relate this back to what you guys need to be doing, because I think that this is not the only person in this situation. Hi, Tim and Julie. I'm a new agent who's been listening to your podcast and reading your book, Harris Rules. Okay, so sideline, if you don't have Harris Rules yet, go to Amazon and get it. Harris Rules with the teal cover. You can get that today and get it delivered shortly. So that's what she's referring to here. I love your material, but find myself, like many others I'm sure, feeling like my hands are completely tied. Excuse me. I became licensed in January, and at the request of my husband and things I heard on your podcast, I've continued working full-time while trying to get my business up and going. I chose the path of generating my leads on my own and not being fed leads. My broker is supportive and believes in me, but it's challenging to make time work with her, and I'm often put off of her schedule. I decided to make the break and submitted my resignation and proposal to go part-time on April 3rd, but 2 weeks later, we find ourselves living in a very different landscape. I continue to work at my job as it is in healthcare and they need me. I have little to no time to pick up the phone and call people. I'm completely lost and spinning. Help! How does a new agent who's followed all your advice make this work and not give up? Bills are piling up, and my leads are telling me they have to pause. I'm not a quitter, nor do I want to flog a dead horse. I help to make a plan. I need help to make a plan that I can work with, whatever that looks like. I sincerely thank you for your direction, whether it be in a podcast or a response. So here's your podcast response. And Tim, I jotted down a few suggestions, but I'm sure you and I can get into a little mini discussion about this as well.
Well, first thing first, obviously, is now I think she was in Canada, so frankly, I'm not up on the Canadian, how that's going to work, just being, we don't really...
With regards to the forbearance stuff, you mean?
Right, with regards to the forbearance stuff. But the first thing first that all of you should be doing is obviously jumping ahead. And now, Premier coaching clients, you guys obviously are getting front-run at all this information, and that's available to you for free as well. Well, it's everyone basically. And again, all you got to do is text the word survival to 31996. But the first things first is she's got to obviously go into hyperbolic mode with regards to protecting finances and cash flow, like we tell you to do, and we've been telling you to do on all of our coaching. The next thing you're going to have to realize is that if you're focused on buyers as your primary source of business, you're probably going to be hurting beyond belief. And that's a vast majority of you who have built your businesses predicated on working with buyers. The buyers are the ones that are going to take the time off. The buyers are the ones that are going to basically stay renting or not put their houses for sale. The buyers are the ones that are essentially going to be out of the market. Now, here's what we predict is going to happen, and it just makes sense. Most of you are reporting the market feels natural and normal. Things are still selling. I'm hearing a lot of you say that. Well, those are buyers that had started looking 30, 60, 90 days, back in the past. And what happens now? Are any buyers looking now? Or how many of them are locking in? How many people, the applications for new mortgages dropped 29% for new mortgages, not refis. So what you're going to see is a real huge drop in home sales that's going to start showing up 30 to 90 days from now. So we think next month is going to feel normal, and we think that, or normal-ish, and the month after that's going to feel like a train wreck. And again, it's just the cycle of real estate. So where do you go with all this? Number one, do what we're telling you to do. as part of the survival plan. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking specifically about BPO cash flow. That's something we want every single one of you doing immediately. Again, the BPO cash flow program for you in Premier Coaching is already on the website. Go there, listen to everything we say, do everything we ask you to do, and absolutely start getting into the BPO business. Every single one of you are Premier Coaching members. That information is waiting for you. So number 2, what you've got to be realizing is that sellers are going to be the way forward for all of you, because there's a huge difference between a buyer that has to buy, a seller that has to sell, and any buyer. For example, there's no such thing as a buyer that has to buy. That's what I meant to say. There's no such thing as a buyer that has to buy, because they can always rent. And that's what you guys are experiencing. They're taking themselves out of the market because there's no such thing as a buyer. Not a 1031, not a relo. They can all rent, and that's what they do. But there are plenty examples of sellers that have to sell. One of my favorite ones, and we had Jim on the podcast the other day, is working with probate leads. And probate leads are the very definition of wonderfully motivated sellers. Now, here's, Julie, I know this is going to happen. Mm-hmm. We're telling all these guys to get on probate leads, and some of them, the problem with Jim's company is they can only have so many subscribers per area. Mm-hmm. They don't have data from every single, county courthouse in the country. So what's going to happen is some of you guys are going to make the smart move and start subscribing to his company now and start getting their probate leads in the system to go after probate. And others of you are going to wait. And then when you decide it's a good move for you to have done it, which will be 60 to 90 days from now, it'll be too late, because then all the good areas are going to be gone. That's the way this always works, is the early movers always basically make the money, and the procrastinators, they never get paid. That's just the nature of life. So if you're interested in learning more about probate, we've made it super simple for you. Just text, and it's one word. There's no spaces. So if you put spaces in, it won't work. Text all the leads to 31996. Remember, no spaces, and you got to make sure your autocorrect in your texting thing is going to try to put in spaces. There are no spaces. It's just all the leads, and text it to 31996. And then we're going to text you back a link where you can go and sign up and you get a discount. So that's what you want to do. You can test out his system and see if it's for you. It will be for you, because it's going to put you right in the direct path of what all of you must be focusing on, which is motivated sellers, have to sell sellers. We're going to be really drilling down on that in that free coaching program and talking about it on our podcast. But if you want to thrive in this market, let alone survive, you're going to absolutely positively have to focus on your listings primarily, because the buyers don't have to buy. They'll take themselves out of the market. There are literally dozens of reasons why sellers have to sell. This just makes sense, right, Julie?
Yeah. So, I was just talking to all of our Harris certified coaches, and we're talking about how people are doing business, because a lot of the tendency is to think, well, business isn't going on. That's absolutely not the case. We had tons of examples of listing presentations going on over Zoom. If you're an EXP agent, and several of our coaches are, they were talking about using EXP World to get a virtual room and do your presentation there. So yes, business is going on. Again, it's the way you're doing business that's changing for some of you. So don't make the mistake of the assumption that it's not going to continue. I just had a flyer emailed to me that was a very proactive agent with their house flyer that said something like coronavirus bonus to buyer, $1,500 towards your closing costs and $1,500 towards the agent who brings me the offer in the next 2 weeks. So people are getting more creative, and business is going on.
So true story. I got a text yesterday, and I'm not going to give you, well, I'll tell you this part of it. So he was forced to sign a non-disclosure agreement. Did I tell you about this?
No.
Oh, I didn't. So I'm not going to tell you who, and don't say, because you'll know who I'm talking about.
I won't.
Don't mention names.
I won't.
Don't drop any names.
Zipping.
Okay, zipping. So he was, well, not forced to, but he was asked to sign a non-disclosure agreement that if he basically opens his mouth, he would have to pay $1 million. I'd never heard of anything like that.
Wow.
It was wacko, right?
Okay.
So then he was interviewed 3 times on a Zoom meeting, and he had no idea who the customer was. And this is somebody, I'm not even going to tell you where in the country he is. So he finally learned who the customer is. It's one of the most famous people on the face of the earth. He didn't tell me, by the way. He didn't violate his NDA, but I figured it out. I think I figured it out. But the point is that whole process started on the Zoom meeting. He used our pre-listing pack. He used the whole process that we teach. He did it all over Zoom meetings. They were interviewing him. They then basically are going to leave access to the property. It's a triple gated freaking estate like you can't believe. And he's going to basically get the listing. And he's getting the listing, and they interviewed him online, 100% on a Zoom meeting. He sent his pre-listing pack to them in an email. They opened it, they read it, they reviewed it. They decided he was entitled to a second interview. He got the second interview. And the third interview, he actually learned who his customer was. And that is how business
That's pretty awesome.
It
and
is.
You know what? If that entity or person who put him through that process, if that worked for them, I'm pretty sure it'll work for meat and potatoes normal people as well. I'm getting reports from coaching clients and from our coaches that many people are super appreciative of having that online meeting. And some of them said that they liked that better regardless of being in quarantine or not. That's just how they preferred to meet. I'm also having a lot of reports that leads and clients are asking agents, are you sure you're okay with this to meet online? Are you sure? Are you and your family okay? So that tells you the market needs some reassurance and that they are by and large okay with this new way of doing business, which, by the way, isn't that new to many of our grizzled veterans. So maybe there's a little learning curve to have you guys get used to it, but please don't think that things are not happening. The strong will not just survive, but will thrive. And we're already seeing some changes that prove that. Back to you, Tim.
Well, so here's where we're going with all this, guys. This is what we're going to be showing you how to do. The world has changed, obviously. The world is going to change in more profound ways than even any of us can conceptualize. And as far as what you should be doing now, first thing first is definitely put your own mask on first. And we talked excessively about that. And then the next thing you need to do, let's get back to her email. Staying on
I
target.
have these
Go
points.
ahead.
So first was your personal part of this, take care of your own financial house. Number 2, BPOs. We've just talked about that, and we'll get more extensive on that one tomorrow. Probate, Tim just mentioned that. Text all the leads to 31996. That's something you absolutely can do from home. Number 4, build your new center of influence online. The person who wrote the email was talking about how working her other job was kind of banned by her employer. They didn't want her talking about real estate. So all of you need to do this anyway. Expand your center of influence online now for reconnecting with your center of influence. I've had a lot of new friend requests and connections myself because we're all, needing to feel that bigger connection. Here's something that a lot of our students are doing. Number 5, identify new construction which has stopped and contact the builders and or sales managers about listings for them. Here's what's happened to some of them. They had deals in contract. The buyers are not able to follow through for whatever reason because their home didn't sell, because they're freaking out, whatever. There is builder inventory to be had, but you've got to identify who and start those conversations.
And the other thing I would absolutely positively do is take a real hard look at the expenses you're paying your broker. Fortunately, and I've been reading really great examples how different brokerages are trying to help agents out in this time of need. And it's going to get worse before it gets better. Unfortunately, what's going to happen is you're going to see a lot of brokers, because most brokers were operating on less than a 3% margin anyway. And you're going to see these guys going out of business. They're open one day and they're going to be closed the next. They're going to, scuttle operations, close operations. They're just not going to have the cash flow to survive. Most major franchises require that their franchisees have 3 months of cash reserves. Those 3 months of cash reserves in most offices, based on essentially what we're expecting to happen in the market, will be gone by June, which means most of them will be closing in May. So if there has ever been a time for you, and our primary client is definitely the individual agent, you must be taking a seriously hard look at where you are, essentially who you're having be your broker. You got to look at EXP. EXP is the only online broker that's out there. EXP is the only online broker that was literally designed it's amazing to think, but it's true, for a market like this. And if you want to learn more about EXP, if you want us to help you understand why you should seriously be considering joining EXP, and this is true for brokers, big brokers, small brokers, individual agents, all you've got to do is text the word EXP to 31996. And when you do, you're going to get texted back a video, and in that video is going to be it's 7-9 minute video, and it's going to explain basically why so many people are joining EXP. Again, just text the word EXP to 31996. If you're ready to join EXP, if you want to have a serious conversation, especially if you're a broker, I want you to text me directly on my private cell phone, which is 512-758-0206. 512-758-0206.
Yes, and I have about 3 minutes to get to Premier Coaching, so I wanted to continue a little bit on to part 2, protect your existing business. Yesterday, we talked about knowing your actual numbers. Who's actually going to stick with you and keep it active, regardless of change of practice, who's serious and who's not, and protecting your pendings for sure. I've seen a lot of creativity keeping those pendings together, so keep up the good work on that. Point number 2, call 100% of your active listings, pendings, and serious buyers. Communication is key. Remember, if they're not weird about doing business, you don't get to be weird about it. Don't create an objection if there isn't one. But do communicate every 2 to 3 days. Hiding out from your existing business is not going to help you. There's been a big variety everywhere from, I'm cool, do what you have to do, to what can you do for me virtually, to I want a people-free experience, just bring me some investor offers. So there's lots of different aspects of this, but communication is your friend. I challenge all of you to feel like you're over-communicating. Back to you, Tim. I've got to go to Premier.
That's right. So the main thing is for you not to avoid the temptation just to basically put yourself in your foxhole and wait for the bullets to stop flying. Because by the time the bullets stop flying and people are starting to feel more confident again, whenever that is, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, I got to lubricate that door. Julie's leaving our studio. I got to hit that with WD-40. But what's going to happen is that all the agents are going to start coming out of the woodwork, and the things that we're suggesting for you guys to do, they're not going to be available. I mean, we're going to tell you tomorrow specifically how to start your BPO cash flow business. We're going to give you the names. We're going to give you the numbers. We're going to tell you exactly what to do. And then what's going to happen is you're going to see thousands and then tens of thousands of agents starting to do BPOs, and you're going to want to do BPOs 90, 120 days from now, and all those relationships are going to be gone. It'll basically be too late for you at that point. So when we tell you to do something on this podcast, we want you to take action on it immediately. Don't wait. Every single one of these types of things we're going to suggest to you do have a window, and then that window closes. The other thing we're going to really drill down on is teaching guys how to proactively lead generate, expireds, for sale by owners, all these other types of things. Notice we did not tell you to focus all your energies on your centers of influence and past clients. I know that's what everyone else is telling you. But the fact is that if you have a list of 100 centers of influence and past clients, and you have a list of 100, say, for example, expired listings, where do you think you're going to most likely generate the most business the quickest? Calling the 100 centers of influence and past clients, or calling the 100 expireds? People that already have their hands in their air saying, I want to sell my house. I know many of you have tried, quote unquote, to go after expired, and maybe you had 2 or 3 experiences that make you think that it doesn't work. It does not make sense that it doesn't work. Of course it works. You're calling people that failed to sell their houses. Sure, not all of them are going to be red hot motivated, but most of them are. And most of the agents that they'd hired coming out of this past market, which is done, it's not coming back. Trust me, guys, it's not coming back. So most of the agents who were getting the listings in the past market were agents that were being hired because they were in their centers of influence and past clients. A lot of people, sellers, were making decisions based on personal relationships. And those of you guys who were focused primarily on that in the past market were doing just fine. That was the reason why the first thing we always told you to do is work on your centers of influence and past clients. We always told all of our coaching clients that. But in this market, what's going to happen, unless you, Mr. Center of Influence, past client focused agent, have the actual sales skills necessary to tell people how to price their houses correctly, how to have hard conversations with sellers, how they're going to sell their houses for less than they paid for them, how they're going to have all these really uncomfortable confrontational type conversations. If you don't know how to do it, or if you're unwilling to do it, you will not survive. The people that go down the fastest in a market like this, agents, are the Center of Influence past clients based agents. Again, it simply makes sense. Think about what I'm telling you. If I could give you a list of 100 people in your market who had their houses for sale but failed to sell, what do you know about those leads? They have to sell their house, or at least they had their houses for sale, so they're interested in selling their house. Probably 95% of them absolutely positively must sell. You know what the price isn't because it didn't sell. You know they're willing to pay a commission. You're going to have maybe some decent feedback from the showings that they had. You're going to have all kinds of market data, but the thing you're going to have most of all is you're going to have a motivated seller who's already been kicked in the head by the market, and so they're going to be more receptive to basically someone coming in there and telling them what to do. Because the simple fact is now is a better time to sell the house than 6 months or 12 months from now. Most likely. The probability of house prices going back up again anytime soon, it's hard to tell, but I would say it's pretty close to zero. We're in this downward cycle, and then the prices will stay flat until this recession is back. Nobody's going to be buying houses, at least not like they were, when you have unemployment claims that are a 50-year high, guys. And if you think there's going to be a V-shaped recovery, that just doesn't make sense. Something like, 60 or 65% of all people in the country who have jobs are working for businesses that have 50 or fewer employees. When a company like that goes out of business, it does not just bounce back when all of a sudden, the government says it's okay. It does not work that way because they'll burn through their own cash reserves. They won't have the money to start their businesses again. And emotionally, they'll probably be so distraught that they don't want to do it anyway. Most businesses operate on tiny single-digit margins. And for a lot of people, they're going to say, you know what? I was looking for a reason to get out of the restaurant business, and now I finally got it. I'm getting calls texts, probably 6 to 10 a day from, mostly medium-sized brokers who are looking for a graceful exit out of being a broker, because being a broker just makes you broker, just a simple law of nature. And the conversation essentially is, I've been looking for a way to basically get out of this business without feeling like I failed. And now I finally have it. And I'm calling it a graceful exit. So, whatever has provided for you, all of you guys who are running these brokerages, who you're still having to sell, just keep the lights on in the best of times. You never actually had a functioning business that made you passive income. This is your opportunity to gracefully exit out of being a broker. And here's the cool thing about the way EXP's got things set up. You can still keep your brokerage name, or if you're a team, you can still keep your brand name. It doesn't matter. And you can just, all it has to say is brokered by EXP. So EXP doesn't want you to lose your brand and lose your identity and lose the thing you've spent all your life, energy, and passion building. They want you to realize there's just a better way for you to basically make passive income through EXP Realty. And frankly, the agent experience is that, I have not run into a single experience where agents aren't happier with the experience they're getting at EXP versus their traditional brokerage. In a market like this, guys, you have to be where the puck is going to be. EXP's been there waiting for you, waiting for all of us for, over a decade now? So this is the time to take it seriously. If you want to talk to me about EXP, you can just text me directly if you're ready to join, or if you're basically a brokerage and need higher level conversations. Just text me on my private cell phone at 512-758-0206. If you're EXP curious, just text the word EXP to 31996. And when you do, you'll be texted back a video that you can watch and have all your questions answered. Guys, listen, there's no way Julie and I can cover all the things that we're creating for you on this podcast. Podcast is 20 to 30 minutes. We do it, usually we do it once, but now we're doing it 2 or 3 times a day. So we have to create more, essentially, funnels for you guys to go and grab hold of the information we've created for you. That's it. That's how we're going to do it, because that's the way we can cover the most ground the quickest. So for all of you guys who are wanting to not just survive but thrive in this market, and you need help, you need direction, you have found us. That's what we're here to help you do. Join that Premier Experience, the free coaching program we created. Just text the word survival to 31996. Stay tuned, stay close. We're going to be doing more interviews with more agents that have essentially come around the emotional bend and are thriving in this market, or positioned to thrive in this market. Do what they've done, guys. This doesn't have to be your downfall. This can be your rebirth into real estate. Have a fantastic day. We'll talk to you on the show anytime.
This program has been a presentation by Tim and Julie Harris, Real Estate Coaching. For more information on our real estate coaching and training programs, visit our website at timandjulieharris.com. Remember to tune in weekdays at noon for upcoming shows, and until next time, thank you for listening to Real Estate Coaching Radio with Tim and Julie Harris.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.